Hello, everyone. Welcome to Transform Now. I'm Brad Hairston.
And I'm Michael Marchuk.
And this is the weekly Pulse Check, taking a look at some interesting headlines from the world of automation and AI. And Michael, let's go ahead and dive right in. Our
All right.
first article is from The Verge. It's titled, ChatGPT's AI search engine is rolling out to everyone. Now, you and I have talked about this a time or two over the last year. ChatGPT, or OpenAI, I should say, has been hinting that this was coming, that they were going to try to embed search within their platform. And this is available to both free users as well as subscription users. And it's taken a little while to get out there, but here it is. And I've had just a brief opportunity to play around with it. It does seem pretty intuitive. The results seem, a little cleaner and more visually appealing, you might say. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on just the gravity of this move by ChatGPT and what Google might be thinking about it.
Exactly. Well, that's the big deal here. So this is part of OpenAI's 12 days of shipness. Their day 8 of shipping out their OpenAI competitor to search. And this has been something that the market's been looking for quite some time. So it's certainly not a surprise. But what's interesting about it is that the interface they redesigned for this, chat into search function looks very much like we would expect from, say, the Google search engine in terms of how you interface with it and the results you get back from it. So what's more interesting about it is that conversational nature of it. So the initial concept of searching into it looks a whole lot like you'd be searching into Google or anything else, but then adding conversations to it to allow you to refine the results and to get into it, I thought was a very good way of integrating the ChatGPT AI function into that. Now, we start talking about how is this going to affect Google and Bing, because I know you use Bing often for your search. So,
Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. But the idea behind it is that it's really going to affect Google, who is the dominant search leader globally. And they have massive amounts of ad revenue that come through their search engine. In fact, that's like their bread and butter and then some. So we say OpenAI is going to release this search function to be able to do this. It's interesting in that it's going to allow you to find, answers you're looking for, refine them, et cetera, using the sort of natural language kind of interface. But the bigger question I have is how OpenAI is going to adapt their model to influencers, perhaps like businesses who want to be found through OpenAI. Because I can't imagine they're going to say, oh, we are not going to do that. We are going to be completely agnostic. We are going to get you the best search results possible and only those. When in fact, they know there's zillions of dollars available. And that's a high estimate, my guess, but there's zillions of dollars available that are out there right now from companies who are already paying Google for search results, kind of keywords and whatnot. So I can't imagine that OpenAI is going to ignore that revenue stream, but I don't know how they're going to integrate it into their business model and do that cleanly. But I really can't believe that they're going to ignore it.
Yeah. It was noticeable to me that they did not speak to that in the announcement. They didn't say anything about the nature of the results and are they advertiser driven as they are with Google. We all know that. I think if they are able to come back and say, we're really trying to give you the best result, give you the best experience, and we're not trying to make a dollar off of that, then wow, that may drive lots of people in their direction. One other thing, Michael, that I thought was interesting, they obviously want you to hit a button that makes ChatGPT your default search engine. We'll see how many people do that. But they make the argument that if you do, then in your browser, you can, do simple searches and it's going to get you places a lot faster and more effectively than it would be if you're just going through your native browser. So in the demo they provided, they showed that. I think they were going to Netflix or something similar. And they said, if you went through Google, it takes you a little bit longer to kind of navigate to different places, whereas we're going to get you right there very quickly, make it more intuitive and more simple. So again, another interesting angle to this. We'll have to explore that further for sure.
Well, one of the things I think could be very interesting is you talk about browser integration as default search engine. That's fine, but to take it to the next step where you're having maybe a small language model that actually runs in the browser that allows you to do some of that refinement and processing locally on the results that you've gotten back to allow you to refine it without having to go back and forth. That could be very interesting. And certainly as we see more hardware capable devices, whether it's your phone or built-in GPUs in your laptop, I foresee that we'll probably have something like that as we go forward. But this is the first step, and I think it's an interesting concept.
Yeah, absolutely. So the second article comes from the Wall Street Journal. It's titled, "Why the Coolest Job in Tech Might Actually Be in a Bank." This is a great follow-on to something we looked at last week. We looked at an infographic that was talking about where all the tech hires are happening, and it showed clearly that the big tech companies are still getting the lion's share of those graduates or just people in the market. But also it showed that below that, you start to see some of the big banks show up. So they're starting to edge up the list in terms of, decent sized number of hires they're doing in this space. So this article continues down that thread and says that there's definitely a lot more desire for tech grads to go to financial services companies because AI is prominent, and you have companies like JP Morgan, for example, they're featured heavily in this article, who are really playing offense, trying to get the best and the brightest people to come their way. So tell me what you thought about the article and what stuck out to you.
So a couple things. So looking at it from banking specifically, so let's just take the sector in general. It has plenty of opportunities for AI to be applied to its business model. So I think this is a really great place for AI to be applied into normal everyday life things that people use all the time. And I think when you have these newer graduates, which then by default makes them in that Gen Z kind of category, they're very used to having electronics and their digital life within their palm of their hand. So when you start looking at early adopters and or those that are leading the pack, maybe like JP Morgan, et cetera, who are really advocating for their relationship with OpenAI and how AI is doing so much in their business, I think that these graduates are seeing a connection there beyond, hey, listen, I really do want to work at fill in the blank, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple. Those are definitely going to be heavy draws for tech people. But what's interesting to me is that in the article, it mentioned that Cornell said that 22% of its 2023 computer science graduates went into financial services. So that's nearly a quarter of their people graduating went into the banking realm. Now,
Staggering.
It is. Now, maybe because it's Cornell. I mean, given the location and given the sector nearby, maybe that had something to do with this as well. Because you don't really get into how they were recruited from Cornell to go to these places. But again, I think it's interesting to see that this sector as a whole is really amping up on their AI and technology. And I know we've talked a bunch of different times about every company is going to be an AI company, a technology company. They have to be. And I think that these banks are really realizing that now. They have to be involved in AI. And in order to do that, they need the talent to be able to drive it.
Yep. I thought it was funny what it said about the big tech companies, because of the instability in the market and layoffs and what have you, they're no longer rolling out the red carpet for tech hires. They're not giving, the offsite trips and the wellness retreats and things like that. So the banks are able to get their attention a little bit more than in the past. So yeah, interesting article for sure. Okay, our next one. This is from the category of should we be worried about this? The article is from TechCrunch, and it's titled "Google says its new AI models can identify emotions, and that has experts worried." So this is talking about the Polygemma 2, what an interesting name, family of models that Google has put out there, and it can analyze images, and it can, from the AI, it can generate captions and answer questions about what people, about the people that it sees in the photos, describing actions, emotions, and the overall narrative of the scene. And this is causing quite a fuss, as you might expect. So what did you think, Michael?
So it's interesting. This exercise is something that I recall doing, I believe, in grade school, when our teacher would hold up a picture of somebody and it looked like a woman in anguish. And she would go around the room and say, "Tell me what you see in this picture, and tell me what's being felt by the person in this picture." And people would go around and say, "Oh, she looks like she lost her dog and she's crying because she can't find it." Oh, so you make up stories based on what you see. And each person had a different interpretation of what they saw based on their own context and whatnot. And some were very, very, detailed in what they were talking about. Again, these were all kids, so we have great imaginations. And others were just like, she's crying. It's really basic. That's what I see from this, at least at this point in time, taking a picture of a person expressing emotion. Oh, that looks like a happy person. That's based on whatever they identify from a model. They're smiling, their eyes are upturned, and their head is tilted back. Okay, great. Those are the factors that makes them a happy person. So I think they mentioned it, say this is akin to using a magic 8-ball to figure out what the emotions are within the picture, because as you and I know, it's very easy to either fake an emotion, like "I'm so happy you're here," and display your facial expressions, when in fact you may not be feeling that way inside. And it's also very difficult to provide, even for humans, to understand someone else's emotional state, because there's a mask that we all wear when we're interfacing in public. And even when we're in the most trusted or intimate situations where, hey, this is with my family, they all know me, they've known me forever, right? There's still a point in time where you may look stoic, and that could mean a bunch of different things. It may mean that I'm really full, I had so much to eat, to I'm really concerned about grandma's health, right? Knowing what that is very difficult for people to do or pick up on. So having somebody be alarmed that AI is going to learn our emotions is less of a concern for me, at least at this point.
Yeah, I think I land more on the side of skepticism about this. We have a hard enough time, as you said, figuring out emotions of other humans. And so for me, it's really hard to imagine that a machine is going to be able to crack that nut. But in this case, the consequences could be problematic. An AI engine, if it thinks you're in this emotional state, might recommend something or give you a path to go down that's not appropriate. It might convince your company to make a refund on a product when a person is not looking for a refund. I just think about all the things that machines could do improperly if they're making this judgment of emotion, which is it takes, I think, a human's intuition. It really is subjective, as the article, some of the people in the article say. It's heavy subjective matter. So I think it's kind of walking that dangerous line and trying to be more human than it can be. So yeah, I'm not all the way there. I'm not freaking out about it, but I'm not buying into it either.
I would agree.
All right, our last article, and this is another fun one, kind of in the same category. It comes from, what is the article here?
It's Variety.
Oh, Variety. Sorry, it's not listed in my article title. So from Variety, yeah, you clearly read Variety. So
Absolutely, sure, all the time. I want to know what all the celebrities are doing. That's like top priority for me.
Exactly. The article's titled Lisa Kudrow criticizes Tom Hanks' de-aging movie Here as an endorsement for AI. What work will there be left for human beings? She says. So Lisa Kudrow is from the show Friends, and she does not care for this new movie called Here. I'm aware of it. I saw a trailer on it, and it was interesting. You know, it looked to me like they were using avatars and, you know, AI de-aging and what have you. And in fact, that's what they do. They basically focus on this couple, Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. And it takes them from when they were young people dating all the way to, you know, elderly married couple, and using AI along the way. And, you know, Hanks is, he's a little bit more, it doesn't worry him, the AI aspect of it. In the article, it says, without a doubt, people will be able to tell that it's AI. But the question is, will they care? There are some people that won't care. I think that's true. But then again, others are concerned about this, just like they were concerned about the, you know, Google model that can detect emotion. So what was your take on this?
So I see this as a progression within the film industry. And yeah, I foresee this is maybe down the way a ways, having these digital likenesses being quote unquote employed within movie sets and movie scripts to be fully digitally prepared. Now, with that being said, leveraging digital effects has been done for quite a long time. I mean, how many movies have we seen where, like Avatar, where people's facial movements were measured and filmed and then overlaid onto a fully, you know, pixelated version of a world that was created completely inside a computer. Now, were people upset and enraged by that? No, because there's still real actors doing the work. We had the same thing here. There's still real actors to feel work. It's just that they had their looks, their appearances changed and altered instead of with makeup, with a digital process. So, you know, this is very much like a lot of other things. You think about the concept of set building and model building from within the film industry. You know, you went from a long time ago, people built sets and they had these Westerns that were these very elaborate, large, real place sets. And the actors would interact with those and walk through them and et cetera. Now, all that is a back screen that they can create fully immersive worlds in without the actors being anywhere but in a soundstage with green screen behind them. So these are things that have happened already. Actors have no problem with it because that's how movies are made.
Right.
I just think this is another one of those transitions that is continuing to move forward, that these will continue to adopt the new technologies and create those advances. Now, what could be interesting as we move forward into the further future, and we've seen this with, let's call it influencers at this point in time, where you have digitally created influencers who brands are quote unquote hiring to model their wares. These are digital representations of non-existent people, right, that are placed in situations to sell something in this case. That is directly going against the modeling world, which used real people to do that forever. But now we have these new exciting ways of creating people who are exactly who we're looking for. And we could put them in extremely dangerous situations that we really couldn't ever do with a human being. Hey, let's put that person like waiting on the top of a volcano or surfing down the mountain on a volcano. And they can do that now with these digital representations because it's all fake. It's all created. It's all artistic. And I really foresee that movies are going to head that same route.
Yeah, I think you're right. Last year I played around with the software HeyGen.
Yes.
That allows you to, through AI, create this avatar. And it was really impressive the way that it creates this avatar. Then you can type in whatever you want, and the avatar will say it. You can say, give it a different language. It says it. Very impressive. But one thing that was clearly missing was any like self-awareness or emotion or consciousness. So if I put in the world is about to end, it'll say it. Then if you say it's a sunny day outside, it'll say it in the exact same way. Exactly. So I really don't worry about these avatars taking over.
Well, maybe you've forgotten the episode I did when I talked with an emotional AI, which does provide some kind of emotional response.
Human AI, right? Or
exactly.
Yeah.
What's more interesting about all of it, quite honestly, is that there's still people behind it with a creative vision to create these things.
Right.
So the actor, the idea of an actor moving forward may look very different. You may have people who are extremely creative who take and build models of actors. You need actors that are younger and older and different ethnicities and sizes and whatnot. And that whole concept of building in that, you could create a virtual actor that people become very fond of. And so I really believe there are new opportunities for building this, but this is, again, going back to where humans fit in the process. Maybe the humans don't fit the same way that they used to, but there's still lots of places for human creativity to come into the mix and be part of the overall process, because, AI agents are not just going to create movies for the sake of creating movies. If they did, I would hate to say, they'd probably look all like the Hallmark movies that we're seeing now at the holidays, which are literally every single movie is quite exactly the same as we go. So anyway.
Or a James Cameron movie, right? That makes billions of dollars in the Avatar series, but
exactly.
Not my cup of tea for sure. Well, that's all the time we have for the Pulse Check. Thanks for joining us on this episode. And remember, every week we publish another episode with a great guest. But otherwise, we will see you back on the next Pulse Check. Thanks. Bye for now.